etsagalang fo teng. So it's some of the things tse e leng goreng we are experiencing. Gender-based violence, dipalopalo di ntse di ya ko godimo. Ebile re realize gore le batjha ba rona, they are going through gender-based violence.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Yes, please, a round of applause for that. And I hope you're giving her a round of applause because she has summed up some of the issues that you are battling with as Bakgala. And I'm going to start with you, Sazeni, because I think she touched on quite a lot on the topic that is close to your heart and the topic that you've given yourself to ensure that our children never have to start where we started as far as gender-based violence is concerned. And I know that you have been a champion in South Africa in ensuring that there are interventions that are put in place, not only just for young people of South Africa, but for the women of South Africa as far as GBV Fund is concerned. And I want to hand over to you and say, what are the interventions that we could put in place, but also just talk a little bit about what you've been doing as far as GBV Fund is concerned.
No, thank you for that. I'm concerned for the people on that corner that can't see me. So, mina ngiyakhuluma, so lizang excuse angikhulumi isitswana. Igama lami ngosazini Mojapilo. I am the CEO of the Gender-Based Violence and Femicide Response Fund of South Africa. My job is to look at how to create safe spaces. I'll tell you the statistics or what they say. When they've done their research, they say 1 in 3 people or women have experienced abuse. And the abuse can be sexual, physical, emotional, financial, mental, psychological. And as I say that, and I'm looking at everyone here, if it's 1 in 3, that means 1, 2, 3. And where you're sitting, you can say 1, 2, 3. That means all of us have experienced some sort of violence or abuse. So as a country, 1 woman dies every 8 hours from her boyfriend, who will say, you know, we were fighting and then I pushed her and then she hit her head and then she died. And most of us know the story. But because of the sexual violence and abuse that we experience, there's another important fact. 950 girls between the age of 15 and 24 in South Africa are diagnosed with HIV/AIDS every week because of non-consensual sex or violence. How many times have we thought no or said no, but it happened anyway? Without any protection. So when I stand up and I say, this is the job that I do, there are some mothers who are sitting here and they have children who are 13 and they are pregnant. We need to be thinking how to deal with that as a country. So when I look at you, in every stadium, every podium I go to across South Africa, whether it's Limpopo, KZN, Northwest, we are one people, we are the same. Our experiences are the same. So when I talk to you and we talk about the need for employment and opportunities, how do you go after them in an environment where you are not safe? So when we look at the work that we do as a country and the work that I do, we're looking at how to prevent that. Some of you move from job to job, piece jobs, etc. But that is because some of the times your mental state and the experiences you said at home, you face violence. Whether it's your parents, whether it's your partner, whether it's your husband, whether it's your boyfriend, or even your girlfriend. So part of the important work that we are doing as a country is to look at how to support and prevent gender-based violence before it happens. There are many programs that are being run that look at prevention of gender-based violence. So if we are to create jobs, one of the biggest areas to create jobs is in the social space. Those who can educate, create awareness to stop gender-based violence before it happens. Doing door-to-door campaigns, raising awareness about what gender-based violence is. When we talk about it, people think he should have hit me. But when you are married and he doesn't provide and doesn't bring money home and you don't have enough to eat and your children are starving, that's financial violence. So we can mitigate that or support that by creating more jobs. So that's one of the main programs. And the other one is to support and care for people who have experienced violence. We work with the police. We work with the Department of Justice, with Tutuzela care centers. If it's 9 p.m. and you experience violence, where do you go? You go to a Tutuzela care center. So one of the main things we need to do is to look and say, do we have a Tutuzela care center in our community here? And if we don't, we need to establish one. A Tutuzela care center is run by the Department of Justice. Whatever violence you experience, whether you're a man or you're a woman, you go there. There'll be a social care worker. There'll be a forensic nurse who will take your DNA. There'll be a policeman who will take your statement. And if you're a woman with children, they will take the children and feed them and put them aside whilst you narrate what has happened. So if we don't have that kind of support, we will then need to make sure through the fund that we establish such a center. And from there, then you can go to a shelter. But no one should sit in an environment where they are not safe, where your partner is hurting you, beating you, or subjecting you to any form of violence. And that's what we as the fund, set up by the President Cyril Ramaphosa, we are set up to do. And I will leave some of our details for you to get in touch, but also there are a number of NGOs that we work with within this community and the Northwest that you can reach out to. I'll leave it there.
Thank you so much, Sazini. So, in a nutshell, there are interventions, there are solutions, and as well as means and ways that people can get help when they are in relationships that they find themselves in and that are quite uncomfortable and as well as abusive. And this really goes between whether you're a male, you're a female, or even if you're a child. And the Tutuzela centers, if we do not have one in Bakgala, I think I would like to pose a challenge to Morena Pilane. I can see you there in a suit, Gori. I think that is another intervention that we need to put in place if we do not have in the community. Busi, you heard Uleseho speaking about some of the issues that they're battling with as far as the youth in this community is concerned. I think when I was talking to her earlier on, she mentioned something just so interesting. She says to me, this has been a community where a lot of young people grew up knowing that they would be employed in the mines when they graduate from school, right? And as we know the state now in South Africa, a lot of mines are closing down, which now poses another challenge, which is youth unemployment, and as well as, because a lot of them, they've always had this vision and this dream that when I grow up, I'm going to grow up and go work in a specific mine. And a lot of those mines are closing down. A lot of people are being retrenched, which means now they have to come back into the communities and maybe dream again, these young people. What are your thoughts around that? What can we do as the young people, Baba Kgatla, to say, what are the interventions that we could put in place, and what is it that you would advise us to do as a mental wellness specialist as far as that is concerned?
Dumelang bagolo. I heard that bagolo is the older people, right?
Yeah.
So dumelang bagolo. And then hello to the young people of Northwest. Ni right? I can't feel your vibe. Ni right? Okay, thank you so much, Zez, for that question. I'm sure young people, you are sitting there and you're looking on the screens and you can see me. I'm probably the youngest in the crew here. I'm challenging you. And you may be asking yourself, why is she sitting there? And she's as young as me, or how did she even get an opportunity to sit there? And she's an expert when it comes to mental health. Maybe some of you, I'm like, hey, Maringim Dal, I'm even older than her. How did she even tiptoe herself to get herself to that stage where now she's talking about mental health, where she's talking about anxiety, stress, depression? So I can imagine you are in a GBV situation, you are unemployed. Obviously, your mind is asking a lot of questions. And I'm bringing this to the table because I want to speak to the young people who are sitting there. The question that you are asking, it's like you were relating my story. When I graduated, I submitted my CV to the department, and there was a big lady sitting there with my box. Your CV is here, we'll employ you. Just keep on coming. I went in the following week. Don't worry, your CV is here, we will employ you. And I went the third week. They were calling students who just graduated. I graduated the year before. Oh, don't cry. It's in the rural, but it's okay. You'll be fine. You are employed. And I'm sitting and I'm like, but I sent my CV last year. The whole year I've been coming in and out of this office. So there's that disappointment of, I studied because there was a need.
Yeah.
I studied because it was advertised that if I do this course, I'm going to get employment.
Yeah.
And then situation changes. Now I am not employed. Now I'm a young person, excited. My colleague or my peers are employed then, and I'm not employed. What happens now to you who's sitting there with your degrees? Are we not sitting with our degrees on the chairs there? With our graduation gowns, with everything that we have. But then there is no employment. Now, I want to share now to say with that question that you're asking, you need to be in a good mental state in order for yourself to pick yourself up.
I get you.
Because already there's a gatekeeper who close the door for you not to get in. Secondly, there's family to say, we've spent so much money to educate you.
Because other parents, I hear my children talk about parents who are toxic quite a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a thing nowadays to say parents are toxic.
No, they're very
right?
toxic.
Okay.
My parents were like, hey, girl, you graduated. We're waiting for money. We need to pay the bills. And I'm thinking, also, I went to school for you. So they
Yeah.
are toxic because they ask the questions that they also hoped for. So they're not toxic in a bad way. They're toxic because they don't understand the mental state that you are in.
I get
You are
you.
frustrated, there's no job. Your friends are working, they've got money, they've got cars, they've got housing allowance, car allowance, and you're sitting there in and out of these offices submitting your CV. Now, it had to take my mindset to be on the right state to say, I'm just going to open my own private practice.
Okay.
I'm just going to start my own thing.
Okay.
I'm just going to market myself. I'm just going to show up. I'm
Yeah.
just going to say enough about knocking on doors and let me knock on doors that I want to open for myself.
Yeah.
And that was the only way I was able to step up to say,
Okay, let's be realistic. When Abusi, you know these things, they're nice when you hear them from people who are in Joburg, ne? And all people from Joburg say this thing. You got to know, start your own thing and do your own thing, be your own boss, hustle, and. And I guess it is easy to say those things when you're in Joburg because there's opportunities all around. Let us be realistic. Let's bring it back to Bakgala, right? It looks like I am here. I grew